Okay, so we're live on Facebook and YouTube. And we've got a new friend coming in today, Danielle. We're going to bring her up here in just a minute, but I'm going to go ahead and play the intro so we can allow people time to come in and I can share it to the network. How's it going, everybody? It's our second show of the day. We got 4 going on today. We've got a new friend, Danielle, who's going to be coming on in just a second. I'm going to pull her up. I just want to say to everybody, thank you for your continued love and support and contributions that allow us to keep doing this every day. There's a lot of crazy energy going on today. I don't know what's happening. We had some crazy tech issues. We're being suppressed on Facebook and a little bit on YouTube. Morgan went down for a nap or a lay down, which usually means there's some big energies coming in. So let's see what's going on in on the front line of the apocalypse where Danielle, our new friend, is. Let's see. Let me pull her up here. Here we go. Okay. Oh, wait a minute. Okay. Asked to start video. Oh, I think you're hello.
Hi.
Oh, how you doing? Danielle, nice to meet you.
Meet you too.
Thanks for coming. Yeah, thanks for coming in and sharing space with us and honoring us with your presence. And you're in Syracuse as well, huh?
Yes, I was able to catch a few minutes of Michelle.
Yeah, I didn't know. I was like, Morgan, and I think, is it you or is it her that I didn't even ask her? I think it's you. You do a radio show or something, right?
I started a little bit of a podcast. I started doing some videos. All this shifting gave me some time to start opening up in new ways. So
there you go. Yeah, that's what it's all about. So I didn't know if you guys were affiliated with each other, but I mentioned it to her. She goes, "Oh yeah, I know her." Yeah, so that's cool. Yeah, so welcome to Soul Speaks 5D. I don't know what the hell's going on today.
I'm with you. It's so windy.
I mean, this is crazy, and I'm usually pretty good with it, doing these shows, but every now and then it gets a little difficult. And so today's one of those days. It's taking everything I got just to be sitting here. I don't know what's going on, but I got off I don't know if I got off the first show or no, it was right before the first show. And I said, what's going on to Morgan? And then I looked at the Facebook and the Schumann residence an hour, or it would have been like 2 or 3 hours ago now, started going white out again. I don't know what all that means. I just know when that's happening, something's going on, but I can tell there's something big happening right now. And a few people have made comments about it. So you're feeling it.
Oh yeah, I had to literally run around my house trying to find sneakers just so I could feel grounded. I wouldn't wear shoes, but I was like, I need something.
Yeah, no kidding. I didn't have a chance to pull your bio up. I'm sorry, my 3D functioning is not what it used to be. But that's okay, because we have a little a little saying here. We like to do everything intuitive, creatively, spontaneously, imaginatively, and depending on what we're talking about or doing, courageously. It's all the I am soul. It's just raw, and we're just having a conversation. You're welcome to ask questions as well. But there's so many new people coming on. I've kind of got away from asking this to start the programs out, but she's found all these new people like yourself, and this is awesome. This is what we need, especially this divine feminine energy that's starting to step up now. But when did you wake up?
Oh, it was kind of a slow process in like the early 2000s.
Mm.
Um, just was really uncomfortable and wanted something better. So, like, my mom gave me a book about like past life, and it resonated. It always was something that made sense to me. So I finally sat down and read it, and like I devoured it, and then I just kept buying like every book I could find. Um, and so it just progressed from there. But I'd say probably another level happened around 2009,
Mm.
when I really started to expand outside of just that 3D energy,
Yeah.
and really just starting to look up and out, and expanding in that way. So
Mm.
it's been this unfolding for sure.
So, did you have the traditional light worker characteristic of having like a succession of traumas hit you that kind of put you out there, the cosmic 2x4 across the side of the head?
That was pretty much my childhood.
Mm.
It really, especially, well, I'd say, like preteen days, it really started. Um, and yeah, just tumbled from there. They really just came in succession, back to back to back,
Mm.
until, um, yeah, I was like drinking and avoiding in any way possible because I didn't know what else to do.
Yeah.
Um, and then finally that started to lift, thank goodness, because I didn't want to stay on that trajectory. And it was an interesting combination of like dreams. Now I was like literally like going to bed, buzzed or drunk or whatever in my early 20s, but I would be like woken up by these dreams. And that's why that book, Brian Weiss, Many Life, Many Masters, hit me, because I swear I still remember from like 15 years ago, it was like page 56 or something. He described what the masters looked like. And I closed the book and started crying because it felt like that's what had been coming to me in my dreams, kind of like,
Wow.
Danielle, wake up, wake up.
You can't make this shift up. this is
Oh,
this is how it goes down.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I say that was like a pivotal, like I kind of knew something was trying to wake me up, but I was still like, oh, I don't know about that. But when it was like once they put that book in my hands, I couldn't deny it anymore.
Wow.
And
So was there a point 2009 or after where you really got pushed out there? I mean, like where you said, "Okay, I'm gonna go with this," and just
yeah.
put blinders on, by force or flow, and just say, "I'm going with this." I'm crazy. You can call me crazy, but I know this is my truth.
Oh my gosh, yes. Actually, it started a little bit before 2009, and I didn't even know what I was saying yes to. But I even looked at my husband now, but he was my boyfriend then, and I looked at him, and I had first learned about Reiki and Red Celestine prophecy, and I looked at him and I said, I'm going here. So you can jump off now if you want, but I'm going. And I just, yeah, it was like I opened that door. It's kind of like in the Matrix, once you take that, there's no
Yeah,
going back.
yeah.
And it's just been expansion, like just so many things since then. I look back and I'm like, oh my gosh, I like had no clue back then compared to what I know now. And then I know that I still don't know that much now.
Isn't
There's
that
so
the truth? It's like every day you wake up now, especially in 2020, you wake up and it's like the chalkboard's been erased, and everything that applied that got you to where you were yesterday is gone. It's like,
yep.
okay, new world, yeah, new things. I've seen it with a lot of practitioners this year in the end of last year, talking about their practice, where a lot of people coming in the door that are just waking up and don't know what's going on, and B, their modalities and their processes are changing. Some of them they're dropping, some of them they've used for years, and I had a lot of them tell me each client comes in and it's a different thing every time. I don't have a set pattern anymore. Not all of them, but I mean, so there's something definitely changing that's reflected in these the people that I'm talking about, like yourself, that that have a practice. Have you noticed anything? You work with clients?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
That's what's kind of funny. There's no accidents that you didn't read my bio because I wrote that literally. Everything is changing for me so quick. It was like that's what just came out of me. And I'm
Mm,
like, that's not a real bio, but it was just like that creative energy. I'm like, I can't go back to how it was. Like
mm,
there's no going back. And actually, my business started slowing down a few weeks before everything shut down here in New York. And it's actually just been such a huge opportunity for me. It feels like the first phase of why I was here is completed. And I'm just in this really wide open space to see what comes next.
yeah,
Um, and I'm very excited about it.
that makes a lot of sense. Morgan's talked about it for years that at some point we're all going to be put to work. And what you just said about like the first part of it's done,
Mhm.
and I feel that. I see that in the people I talk to and in the community. Like something really shifted toward the end of last year. Maybe it was a solstice, but definitely as we got into this year, I mean, it's just like, every month is like a decade. It's just, 1 week is like, 2 or 3 years. It's just, so I'm excited about what May has to bring, because several people that we connect with and that have been on the show have been forecasting like a tremendous increase in disclosure. And disclosure is a huge word. I mean, that's not just the stuff that people are writing about or are talking about, but it's, I guess, at the end of the day, it's our own disclosure about ourselves.
Right? Yeah. A lot of it's already starting to come out and
Mm-hmm.
trickled all in there everywhere. It's interesting to observe and just kind of see where it's gonna go.
Yeah. Well, it's there doesn't seem to be the the amount of, let's just say, energies uh affecting our consciousness, as there normally is. Normally there's, I got work and I got kids got to go to school and I got this and I got that, and now it's like everybody's just got 3 or 4 or 5 common denominators, between being isolated, being stuck with people in the same house that you might have been with for years that you never talked to, dealing with your own stuff. It's pretty level right now and taken out of our patterns and behaviors. I mean, everybody's, for the most part, staying home and so on. So it's interesting how this is going to play out.
Yeah, I've noticed. I wonder if you have too. Like it just feels like the airwaves are cleaner.
Mm.
Like telepathic communication, just like overall communication for, just seems so much more open and clear.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, and then if you look at you're right. If you look at the physical representations of the energetics, even like what you're saying, these pictures they have like in China or of LA, where it's like 1 week after the quarantine, 2 weeks after the quarantine, and the air, the pollution's gone, which to me is a great physical metaphor for what you just said. Um, and I wonder too, how many people are, people always talk about the 144, or there's a million people awake, and I'm like, I don't know. Maybe everyone's beating at the same vibration. It just doesn't look that way. But now I'm starting to think, okay, wait a minute. Like you said, that first phase is over, and now all these folks are going to be put to work. And I guess there's a vast majority out there that might not be awake. I don't know. What's your take on that?
ooh, that's a great question. I'm not sure, but it feels like, well, I'll say this. When you were talking about that, I agree with you. I felt that clear shift at the end of the year going into the new, and the guidance I was getting was like, I don't, there's no, for a long time I was holding the bridge, like helping to hold the bridge. And it was like, that is done. And it
Yeah.
took me some time to really transition through that. Actually, this whole quiet time has probably helped me do it even more. I always get this sense that for me, for a long time, I was just doing this work alone. A lot of the, higher work, we're helping hold space for the planet and the people and stuff. But connecting with people like you, and I'm just like, it makes me realize actually that there's so many more of us than I realized.
Yeah.
And we all have like our little part. So I don't know, for me, when I feel it and I see all the shifts, I think that maybe there's even more of us awake.
That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking that we've done a hell of a job. We haven't given ourselves enough credit. Even some of the folks that come on, like Franco Di Nicola, where they talk about it from a higher perspective. When they sit in these meetings or whatever you want to call them. But that we're making the decision. Well, we made the decision to come down here. Everyone has a voice in what's occurring. And one of the things he said earlier, 3 or 4 days ago, the last time he was on, was that, like with the virus, he said that the intention of the virus from the people playing that role was to be very severe, but that we looked at the simulations of what would occur, and we were going to regress after many, 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 progressions, and that we said no, we're not going to do that. So therefore, we had this outcome of a diluted and convoluted kind of thing. And so that tells me that, yeah, we must be making some progress. I mean, there's a lot of good signs out there. A lot more people looking into their own stuff, which I,
Yeah. hmm Actually, that you brought that up about the virus. The other day, I saw this vision. I was talking to one of my friends, and you know how I don't watch TV really much at all, but I happened to see this thing where they show how the virus spreads and why they have everybody, at home, like how one person gets it, and it kind of, if they come in contact with six, like two or three people might get it, and then that's how it passes on. But what they showed me was that all of us that are home doing our work and helping to shift through things and clear things and bring in the new and embody it, we're doing the same thing. We're like the antidote for the
mm,
virus. So they showed me like we're all the people around us that we're connected with are actually now getting an infusion of the new energy,
yeah,
and it's helping them. So it's having like that balancing effect.
yeah, the antivirus.
But it was
Right.
kind of cool.
Yeah, but I mean, it's true though. I mean, and people like yourself can relate to this, and probably everybody that's watching the show. Uh, we spend a lot of time connecting, and we have over the years connecting to our multidimensional aspects, visiting other timelines, dimensions, having dimensional episodes and apparitions and visitations and the whole nine yards. And it's interesting because it's all coming back to the human aspect. Like, we wanted to get out of here, I mean, the pain, the suffering, beam me up, I want to leave. And now it's like, we can't avoid the human is it can't be done without the human alignment. And it seems like maybe that's the last part of it. Maybe that's why it's getting so physical now, because a lot of people are talking about the physical consequences of the energies and of the shadow work and so on. But yeah, we've got a saying here: the human is the hero. And I think that's just another way of saying, hey, you can't get out of here without facing your stuff. Which, to your point, that work seems to be the most important thing we can do for ourselves and for the collective. I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with that. I've been working my butt off over here the last few weeks for sure.
Is it?
Huh?
Yeah, is that? I believe you. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, there's so many things I wouldn't even know really where to start. I guess like I'll just go into the part. I've been really focused on like my lower chakras,
Mm,
that energy of like safety, security,
yeah.
my relationship to myself and my relationship to others, and it's things I've worked on before,
Mm,
but this time is allowing me to really work with that at a whole deeper level. um and it's interesting, but it feels like it's about connecting with and relating to the earth in a different way, because my spirit, I know that I'm safe. I feel safe, right? But there was still those pieces of me in there that had other experiences, whether it was from this life or past lives or just even my ancestral DNA, right? Those survival instincts. So I found that a lot of that has been coming up, but it feels really awesome to be able to work through that and free it, because each time I do, it's like I literally feel myself feeling lighter and
Yeah.
just more present.
Yeah. And of course, you know, I mean, I've only been really active on social media since 2013, and of course, you know, I got introduced to light worker communities and groups and empath groups and such. But the feminine have been leading the way. You know, I mean, this is common knowledge, and what I'm getting at is, and I'm, you know, of course, I have the luxury of navigating this thing with Morgan, who's, you know, very similar to you. And very recently, over, you know, the past few days, she's been anchoring some stuff in. And it feels very collective to her and me watching her. But of course, it always has a personal part too. But what I noticed is she was talking about the same things you are, which is the solar, the sacral. And then I think she put up a post or two about it. And many women talking about the same thing, which to me is another good sign too, because there's not a whole lot left after that. I mean, you guys actually, obviously, women's intuition, you were connected in the higher chakras. You know, maybe they were more aligned than the masculine, the typical masculine. But now that that other stuff's getting cleaned out, and like you said too, this is stuff that you guys have visited before, but you're going back to maybe clean out the little grimy, creepy little crevices, you know, that have been hiding.
Yes. Actually, I saw a friend sent me the video that you did with Morgan, maybe like 5, 6 weeks ago when a lot
Mm.
of this started. And literally, she said, like, the first sentence, I swear, she spoke very briefly and she started talking about zero pointing. And I
Yeah.
had never heard that before. But I
Mhm.
literally paused the video because I knew what she was talking about and I knew I had to do it immediately. And I started just writing things out. So absolutely. And then I was like, I found her on Facebook and connected because so many of the things she was speaking about
Mm.
were, just resonating with me a lot. And just like the littlest thing, or not a like little thing, it's a big thing what she's doing, but it just took one sentence for her to say
Mm.
to activate that in me and know, like, okay, we got to do this. So there
Yeah.
is, it's interesting, like, even if we've never met in the physical until now, at the
Mm.
higher levels, we're all working collectively together.
Yeah. Yeah. And then back to what I was saying earlier, like, I mean, this method she uses, the zero pointing method that she uses, and then there's other ones out there, but I mean, you know, she introduced it to me in 2017 when she came the first time, and I went through like 5 weeks of intensive daily hours and hours every day, and it just dramatically put me into a trajectory of more alignment. I've watched other people do it, you know, clients of hers, and some of them I know personally, and it's just so ironic that this kind of mundane, from the perspective of we've got all this other stuff going on up here, this kind of mundane type of exercise can be so transformational. I mean, I hear people saying, you know, oh my God, you know, I had this guy in my field and I haven't been able to get rid of him. And then I did my dad and I did my ex partners and I zero pointed them all and he just left. I didn't have to tell
Yeah.
him anything. You know, I
Yep.
think, yeah, I think that part of it. And then the part you're talking about too with the whole telepathic, you know, beehive consciousness, you know, where we're tapping into each other, and that's becoming more and more palpable. It's more prominent now, and that's happening very rapidly. It,
Yeah.
yeah.
I agree. I mean, I've definitely had it over the years, but that was another thing. I saw one of your videos the other day in the conversation you had with the woman. I apologize, I don't remember her name, but I watched her a few minutes, and the things she had been talking about were all things I was thinking about that morning.
Mm,
And I didn't know who she was. I'm like, this is like, we're all just so connected.
I
I mean, I
know.
know that we always have been, but it's just like the airwaves are clear now.
Yeah.
The green light is on.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like we're like the last 3 nights for me have been like very active, which isn't abnormal, in the ethers. But the lucid dreams have been like they're just like we're like the information staying with us. Where it used
Mhm.
to be, you go to sleep and you go to sleep again, and you forget everything, and but now it seems to be carrying over into the conscious awake state. And then also the there'll be people like, somebody will message me, someone did wrote a comment today, oh, you were in a dream last night with me. And then, this past weekend there was like 3 or 4 of us that we all had this, there was a spaceship, and the Arcturians were there, and all the soul family was there. And all the words aren't always exactly the same, but the energy of it is all coming into alignment. So to me, again, that's another really good sign, because this is something we've kind of been experiencing on our own, but now it's becoming a bigger animal, where two or more gather, kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. The energy, it's like it's like this energy of like all the things we've been working towards to get to this point. It's like it's just ready. Like we have the support and the energy. Just let that happen and flow. Um,
Just
Sometimes I
some
can't put it into words.
No, that's all right. No, that's all good. I wanted to ask you now. So I don't have the whole picture, but I have it. You know what I mean, intuitively. So like I know you work with people,
Mhm.
and I know you're very connected. And somebody just made a comment about that. They can feel it in you and hear it in your voice. What did you have like an escort to the party? I mean, did you have like a light beings or galactic or angelics or divine essence or anything that kind of brought you in the door where you were bridging, the physical and the non-physical?
Yes, a lot. I guess I don't. Sometimes again, it kind of goes back to those like human words for a spiritual experience.
Yeah.
And I definitely work with different energies and different beings at different times. That's why I said 2009 was kind of like a wake up point for me. It was when I first was introduced to like the Pleiadians, which opened up a whole new door for me. Um, and started that. But yes, like in that time also I was like starting to work with angels and energy like that. I think actually we met you or like first heard about you through Rion.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, like when my friend first introduced me to his videos, I was like, oh, he's talking about a lot of things that I've been doing, but I never had anybody to talk to about it. So it's definitely been, the best way to say it is just multiple streams.
Yeah.
I just has to be open for what's needed. At the highest levels, of course, not just to anything, but um, and allow that to come through.
Yeah. Do you ever get do you ever get triggered now?
Absolutely.
How
Yep.
do, I just think that's to me I'm just intrigued by what do energy practitioners do when they get triggered, and because I'm always looking for ways to get back to my 0 point as quick as possible when I get off track.
Well, I have a lot of different tools for that. Because I use it. I get triggered a lot less than I used to, obviously, because like you said, and with each thing we work through, those triggers dissipate. Um, for me, it's obviously becoming aware that the triggers are happening. And it just usually starts with that, almost like that conversation of both of those parts of myself. Like the part that is like, okay, how can we get calm and centered so we can actually work through what's happening? Um, but I'd say probably I'm just like an action oriented person. So if I'm triggered, I'll just try to do whatever I can in my physical environment to just feel better.
Yeah.
Um, and but usually, it's an opportunity to work through something because it's triggering something in my body, usually, right? Emotions or stored up energy. Um, so sometimes I can move through it kind of quickly through just observing and realizing what it is. And then other times I just have to really sit with it. I mean, one that's been, when this all first happened and my schedule got super quiet, that was a big trigger for me, just because I love the work that I do, and the fact that it was like quiet. Um, I was like, what am I supposed to do now? I thought this was like my purpose, you know, and I was kind of freaking out. Like I knew it was okay, but there was that part of me that was so antsy. Like I had so much energy that I wanted to share, but I was like, okay, but clearly this is being stopped for a reason. And so
Yeah.
I had to completely step back and like shift gears. And that took me a little bit of time. So, but it definitely was a trigger where I was like questioning myself, and it put me in this state to start to think about, okay, well, maybe some of these things that I was loving, maybe they're not really working anymore, or I can let those go and expand on them. But the initial trigger, definitely of discomfort, was what got me thinking outside
Yeah.
of it.
Yeah. I was reading, I think it was yesterday morning. I went to Ascension Glossary, Lisa Renee's website. I was researching something specific because I had had some dreams. And anyway, I went to her last, I think it was her last blog post, and it was a really long thing, and it was well written. And but at the very bottom, you know, kind of summed it up. She goes, "Well, this is all of our come to Jesus meeting with ourselves." I mean, it's like what you just described. Like there over the last few weeks, even with Morgan and some of her friends and some of our friends, and even what I saw out there in the community, people saying almost like, "What do I do now? Like, what's the point?" Like, you know, almost like getting to that nothingness thing, you know. But like the board got wiped clean, kind of thing. And you know, I've been saying for a few months, I'm not saying I'm right, but to me, for me personally, what seems to be the biggest challenge is getting used to how this is going to work, you know, with the telepathy and with the intuition and with not planning and not being 3D and not being in these old behavioral patterns. And because we are on top of, you know, something comes in, it triggers us, we get imbalanced. We've got enough tools now. We get back to that 0 point, but uh, as they say, life goes on. And so it just looks so different every day. It's weird. But I guess it's a good sign. At least we're not doing what we were doing. And that whole thing about these memes that are out there saying, um, when we get back to normal. Well, we're not going back to normal. That
It's not.
wasn't right. That wasn't normal.
Oh, and there's nothing there anymore. And
True.
it's,
That's very true. Did you have another one of the normal characteristics, which was as you were expanding, you know, individually, did you get any pushback from like family and friends and kind of get pushed, you know, pushed out to the outer rim of, you know,
yeah, I'm
uh,
still there.
oh yeah, well, me too.
Well,
Yeah,
huh?
me too. I'm
Yeah,
still
I
there.
mean, and I don't, it's definitely happens, I think, just naturally as we expand, right? Like we can only, how do I put it in words? We can only stay in so many places at once, right? And
Yeah,
hold space for it. So I kind of look at it like I'm open and I'm there, but I have to also release myself so that I can keep going and fly.
yeah,
You know what I mean? So
yeah,
I stay open and I'm still available, but I've it's been this process of like letting go of those old ways of being
yeah,
and relating, you know, and
yeah,
just like being present and available, I guess. It feels right.
yeah, yeah. Morgan has a saying: "Choose yourself in every moment." Um, and you know, because there is a lot of stuff going on. You know, there's a lot of complexity to it, and you know, not just to the stuff that we've opened up to, the streams that we have to field, but also what we're observing out there, which, you know, to me is getting kind of cartoonish, and it's becoming a little easier, and becoming a little easier to have confidence in the choices I've made over the last 8 or 9 years. You know, because it was a very lonely kind of path, even if you're like living right next to somebody. And I don't know if you can relate to that, but I mean, as you awaken, it's just like you and the universe, and everything else gets shut out.
I can 1,000% relate to that. Absolutely. And there was a time where I just felt so guided to go inside and do that inner work. And um, it was like I was just, I mean, I was interacting in the world, but I was also experiencing it like through my own bubble, you know, like I couldn't view it or interact the same way that I used to. Um, but not really many people around me could understand the perspective I was seeing now. I definitely am lucky that I do have people in my life now
Mm.
that can do that with me, but it's still, I want it to be more. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Just for those connections. But
Well, it's coming. Well, this is where all the crazy people are. So we've got plenty. You got plenty of support here in this in the Sology. Now, one of the things that's really starting to surface are couples. You know, and all we've interviewed quite a few of them. You know, and of course you see a lot of twin flame distortion, and the label thing hardly works anyway as we go into 5D. But you have an interesting experience, because I love what you said earlier. This was my boyfriend then, and when this came to me, I told him I'm going there, and that was a powerful statement to make, and that was kind of like indicative of what the divine feminine did to lead the way in the first place. She said, "Hey, I'm choosing me. I'm going to go down this path, and time's up." But how has that been? I mean, I would imagine he feels like he might be married to Samantha on Bewitched every now and then. But I mean, like that, you actually had to contend with the evolution of that relationship as well as yourself. But that says a lot that you guys remained and that he followed you.
right. Yeah, I agree with that. And it's definitely an always evolving relationship because of that. And there's throughout these years, because I am on this path, we've had that conversation again and again, right? There's always, you grow to a certain point, and those points become available to decide if you're going to keep moving forward together
Yeah,
or go down different roads.
yeah,
And yeah, we actually have those a lot out of respect for each other.
yeah,
And so far, it's just continued to be where it is. And we respect and appreciate each other for that. And also know that there's this opening or this conversation that if at any point our souls need to grow in a different direction, we honor that.
yeah,
Um, and that to me is why we've been able to stay together, because there's that freedom.
yeah.
There's the traditional, oh, we're married, but at a soul spiritual level, we have that openness with each other and that respect for each other.
Yeah. No, I can relate to that. I can remember when I met her, and I didn't have the consistency or even the longevity of, divine information coming in. At least, you don't, when you're early in the game, you don't really trust it all the time. You think you're just losing your mind. But when I met her, I knew right away. I was like, oh my God, I got all these visions and stuff. And I'd tell her, you're the one. This is it. She'd say, well, that's up to you. You know, and I and I guess what I'm saying is that was always it was yeah, it's like you're in a relationship where you make a choice every day to be together. You have that level of freedom, and you have that level of surrender too. I mean, many times we've been connecting, and uh, and we've been asked, are you willing to give each other up to go to the next level? And we're like, yeah. And of course it always comes back, but still, that's what you were talking about earlier, that it's not the contract, it's that inner soul dialogue that now has two people involved. And I think that's making itself known more and more on the earth, energetically.
Right. And he's just been such a huge part of my growth in the sense of holding that space and holding that mirror for me.
Yeah,
Um, Really, when we came together is when, like, when I said, I'm going here, right? And he stayed, and that gave me a safe space.
yeah,
Like whether he knew it or not, he was holding the space for me. And I'm aware of that.
yeah. There's something about that. people talk about that we're going from the age of duality to the age of the Trinity. The third energy that the couples create. I remember reading something Rumi wrote last year, and he talked about and of course it's both literal but energetic, more energetic. He says when a couple comes together, they create a third energy, and it may not be in the physical matter, but it's there, and that seems to be a big part of our transition, is this energy we create, whether it be people in a relationship like that or any two people. This We're creating a consciousness, or almost like we're conscious of the consciousnesses that we're creating, and this is bringing a whole new dynamic to what we've experienced. So it's something that obviously I've got a stake in it. You got a stake in it. I think everybody probably ultimately does, but there's something about that cycle of creation. Almost like if the feminine is creation and he's creator, and so like in your case, his willingness to go forth with you was based on his love for you, you know, which obviously has a much bigger implication. Yeah. Do you guys have anyone else living in the house with you?
Just my animals, my fur babies.
Yeah. Well, no, they're that's another thing people have been talking about too. Well, the kids that are coming in, that
Yeah.
are just like at this higher frequency, but the soul aspect of animals, the
Mm.
telepathy that's occurring between the animal kingdom and us, and even the elemental factor that seems to be somewhat associated with the animals. Do you have that type of relationship with your animals?
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. They've taught me a ton. Even them acting as mirrors in so many different ways. I definitely just watching their behaviors or how they're interacting with us. I know they're showing us things.
Mm,
Um, I have three cats and a dog, and um, they're funny. They're just here and they're present, and I just feel like they're gifts.
yeah. Yeah.
And,
Eh,
um,
yeah.
yeah,
And they are mirrors, you know. I mean, I didn't grow up with a lot of them, but when I got on the road in 2016, the next thing I know, I was surrounded by cats everywhere I went, and they were just like talking to me all the time. Just, hey, what's up? You're not crazy. We're from Lyra, or I've got a message for you. Or I'd be doing a ritual out in the middle of nowhere, and they'd walk up to me and start circling around my feet. And we went to Georgia in 2018 and stayed with a sister, and she had this cat. And every time we'd sit down to do work, energy work, I started calling him Merlin, because he would come in and start going between our legs, or if energy was coming in, he would tell us, something's fixing to go down. So yeah, they're absolutely a part of this. There's no doubt at all.
you just reminded me when I really actually when I started this path, when I started working like learning about Reiki and opening up to energy work that year. Um, I had two cats that, were adopted. Three strays came into our life. Like, well,
Mm,
I knew that they were coming to me, and I felt like they were like guides that were coming to help me wake up.
yeah, yeah, I totally believe that. Yeah,
Hmm.
totally. And I wasn't an animal. God, I didn't have any. Growing up, it wasn't because I didn't like them. It just I didn't have any experience with them. But over the last 3 or 4 years, yeah, they're very, very much so. And even like we went to the beach, and I was like, you know, calling in the dolphins. Next thing you know, there they are, right in front of us. Just putting on a show. Yeah. So now, let me just ask you, like, with everything that you've been through, your experience, and where we're at today, given the crazy, uh, humbling energies of 2020, what kind of advice would you give to anyone who's just waking up now? Because there's a lot of people that tune into this show that are just starting to find out about this stuff.
Yeah. So I would say some of the biggest things that were helpful for me, and they're just really to focus on being responsible for yourself, no matter what's happening,
Mm.
right? And that context of self love and starting to make those decisions for yourself and what feels in alignment with you and taking that quiet time. Like if you have something that comes up or that resonates with you, but it's not the norm of what you grew up with, I would say take that time to sit with it on your own and let yourself integrate it, instead of being pulled out of it. Let yourself expand into what feels good to you,
Mm.
instead of trying to hold up what you knew before.
Yeah. Yeah, true. Yeah. Yeah, I have a saying, if it doesn't make sense, do it. You know, that seems to be a big part of people's experiences, though, is they're getting this information or go do this or go do that, and your humans like going, wait a minute, I don't think I want to do that, or that's crazy. What are people going to think? And yet there seems to be more and more people following this guidance. You see a lot of people moving around like we do, and we would love to have our own place. We would love to settle down somewhere, but that's not what we're being told to do. And there's a lot of people out there like that, whether it be leaving a job, and of course a lot of people that's been taken out of their hands now, our relationships. Uh, so there's a huge energetic dynamic shift that's occurred as a result of this thing that we all have in common, the this virus and the consequences of it, or the restrictions from it. So yeah, it's almost like we couldn't ask for anything better.
Right. We're all, I mean, even those of us that have been doing this work, but or those just waking up, it's like we're really being called to just focus on the heart, like what's on our heart and what we're being called to do, what feels right from that space, and
Mm.
then acting from there, right? Like I'm with you. There's been times I've just felt something was correct in my heart. I didn't necessarily know why, but I would do it. And then like later on, it would like everything would unfold and it was like I was being taken care of ahead of time, you
Mhm.
know.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Do you have much of um like a community in Syracuse? I mean, I know two people that live there.
They're
Three.
actually, yeah, they're actually, believe it or not, in Syracuse, there are a lot of light workers. Um, there's a lot of people doing this work at all different levels, you know, in all different ways. Actually, my friend Joyce and I, we started, it's called Wellness Connects, just for like the local people because there are so many.
Yeah.
Um, but it's interesting. I mean, it's not obviously, at least on like people know about it like Sedona, but there's a lot of people here um, working on different things. Um, I don't know if you've ever heard of like Onondaga Lake.
No. Mm-mm.
It's our lake here, and it's actually the Iroquois Nation, the Onondagas, like it's all in this area. And there's just, to me, I feel there's like so much of that energy and a connection here. And I always wonder if that's why so many people are here, um, that are like waking.
Well, there has to be a reason for it. I spent some time up there years ago before I got into this game, this phase or whatever you want to call it. Niagara Falls,
Mhm.
Syracuse, Rochester, and I'm trying to think of. There's a friend of mine, an old Sology friend, Nora Bouvier. I don't know if you know her, Nora Bouvier.
Mhm.
She, yeah, she owns her and her sister. I think they have like some type of retreat center or something that's been around quite a while.
Nice.
But I know that there's a lot of people up there just from having, I spent some time in New York City too, but uh, just running into people online. But yeah, there seems to be a lot, and it seems to be kind of a, when I was there, it seemed like it was a kind of a sacred, area, kind of like a Sedona or a Shasta, but a bigger area. Niagara Falls is there, Buffalo,
Yeah.
Syracuse, Rochester. Yeah. So
Here,
and has that worked pretty good to get together with people locally?
yeah, we have times that we do definitely. It feels like even now, it feels like it's expanding. I feel like maybe that's part of why this quiet time is happening. And then there you had somebody on from Syracuse before me. It's like we're supposed to start connecting. Wow.
Yeah, yeah. A lot of people talked about this year would be even before the year came. I know Morgan talked about it a lot. Was the collaboration and co-creation, and
Mm.
that we would be coming together in the physical. Not that we wouldn't be coming together online, but and I remember we were in Hawaii and we thought we were going to live there, and then we got the call, so we came over on August the 8th of last year, and after traveling around a few weeks and seeing other people were doing it, she kept saying like, well, where are we all going? And I thought it was kind of, oh well, but now it actually feels like we're all going places, like we're all going to be gathering places. And and if the um actions that we've taken individually, like you were talking about, that you just know in your heart and you go and do it, and we listened, it would only make sense that the collective would follow suit. you know we would start coming together, and maybe it would not be typical or normal, but yeah, those days are over.
Yes.
Normal's gone. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah,
So
oh,
go
go
ahead.
ahead.
No, you go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, just when you were talking about the groups, I was thinking, my mind was going in a lot of different areas. But since I was talking about the lake and the sacred space here, if you ever get a chance, check out it's where Peace Tree was planted. So if you ever get a chance to look up that story, um, I just felt guided to share that
Yeah,
with you.
yeah. Yeah, actually, I really liked that area, to be honest with you. I was hoping we could get up there um, before we headed back west. We're down in Florida now. We've been here since this all kind of went down. But yeah, I'd love to get up there again. It's a beautiful area. It does have a certain the Northeast. A lot of times you think it's super congested, super dense, which it has its areas, but there's some powerful, powerful places up there. When I've been through there before, is there anything that you would like to do or talk about or tell us about, before we get out of here? I mean, like anything that you're working on, if you want to sing or dance or channel or
If I
anything.
could sing like Alicia Keys, I would do that for you, but
Right. Yeah. So, but no, is there anything that you're working on that you want to, just expand awareness of, or anything you want to talk about?
actually, I'm in process. I'm really just in following my guidance. I've been doing my own YouTube channel. It's
Mm-hmm.
Danielle Filipski. I'm going to be sharing messages and thoughts, maybe some meditations on there. I'm really just in that creative flow right now and seeing what comes forth. Um, just sharing from my heart.
Yeah,
So, you
that's
know,
it.
I'd say that would be kind of what I'm going to focus on right now.
That's it. I saw your name on YouTube. When I saw your name, I don't know. I could have
Oh,
sworn.
I follow you.
Okay, I saw your name on. Yeah, I was going through. Yeah, I remember seeing, and I thought when I saw your name yesterday, I was like, I know this person. But oh, was it? Yeah. See, I'm totally, you know, that's really Sology. That's what you're doing to me, and having conversations and then doing what you're doing to me, or to carry the highest, activations, channelings, downloads, code exchange, that just from the heart, these expressions, and a lot of these are now taking video form or live form. And that's how we started. It was just a crazy guy with no shirt on in the studio, and howling at the moon and whatever. But there's something about the truth frequency that people pick up on, and I'm really happy to see that you're doing something like that. We need more and more of that, especially from the divine feminine that's been in the background and quiet. And it's that y'all are stepping up now, and we need this. And so if you do decide to do anything like this, and you want to guest, I'll be more than happy to assist you there. I just had to tell you that. I don't know why, but same as what you were talking about the peace tree. But yeah, if we
Where
can
did you
help you in
go?
any way, we would love to collaborate with you. because the more people that do it, and I've seen people do it, and they come on the show a couple times and boom, they're out there doing their own thing. And I think that's the greatest thing in the world. The more we have this, the more it becomes mainstream.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. And I appreciate that very, very much.
No problem. No problem. I'd love to collaborate with you again sometime. And maybe if your husband is interested, maybe both of y'all can come on and we'll talk about your evolution and his experience as Darren, married to Bewitched. And I can
Excellent.
relate to that. Tell him don't be scared. I totally got that one. Believe me. But yeah. So thank you so much for coming in and
Thank
honoring
you.
us with your presence and sharing your heart with us. And look forward to collaborate with you again down the road sometime.
I appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
All right. You take care. Bye bye.
Bye.